Pass the controller.
What was big in the news this week? Nothing really.
Well, there was some PAX stuff. They did like some Borderlands news. There was that DuckTales announcement. XCOM's coming to the iOS, which I think is kind of cool.
Oh, that's huge. And we don't have to edit this out of the podcast because we don't make any money from this.
That's just for everybody.
Okay, everyone.
That's just to reminisce a little bit about your childhood.
What's it say? It's not Ponytails, not something Tails?
If you go on Joystick and see the actual like announcement of the game, they have the gameplay trailer.
Yeah, we saw.
And underneath it's scrolling all the words to the song.
Oh, cool.
So you can sing along to it.
That's awesome.
I was at work the other day, and the girl I work with is a huge like Disney and cartoon nerd. So it was like a strange occurrence where we both were, because we don't have the same interests at all. Not one overlap. Period.
Not one.
And not one. Not even close to one. And then all of a sudden, bam! I was like, DuckTales video game. I started tweeting about it when I got to work. She was like, oh, I was actually just about to tweet something about that, and I saw you posted it before me. I was like, what are you talking about? The DuckTales video game. And I was like, oh, Disney and DuckTales. Oh, okay.
Oh, good.
She just loves, and then she was nerding out over that they got all of the original voice.
The original voice.
And there's like a 92-year-old dude, like Scrooge was like a 92-year-old dude who's coming back in and record new dialogue and stuff.
Well, I had read, and I didn't know this, that the guy in the Mr. Ed show, that's the voice of Scrooge McDuck.
Yes. Yes.
I did not know that.
Then, did you something else that's crazy? I don't know if you guys knew this, but remember Gargoyles?
Yeah.
The full cast of Star Trek: Next Generation.
Really?
Yeah.
Look, like a lot of those guys crossed over. I mean,
like Will Wheaton's on there, Jean-Luc Picard's on there.
Jean-Luc Picard is not the actor's name, but okay.
Yeah, no, I know.
He will forever be
Patrick
known.
Stewart. I can't remember what Worf's name is, but whatever.
Worf.
The guy that played Worf.
Shit. I want to take out that word. I said black guy. I like it. I'm not racist or something.
Well, you should probably edit that out.
All right.
And I just watched the '86 Transformers cartoon.
Yeah.
I just recently watched that. I did not realize that was Orson Welles and Leonard Nimoy.
Orson Welles.
As the voice of what?
Orson Welles is the voice of Unicron.
Really?
Yeah. It was the last movie he was a part of.
Worf's name is Michael Dorn.
I like Michael Dorn. Yeah, Michael Dorn. Yeah, he's awesome. He's awesome. He has some sci-fi movie or fantasy movie coming out that he had funded off Kickstarter, like everyone else does.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this is Pass the Controller, and the beginning that you just listened to was our pop culture ramble. But now it's going to be on with the video games and some sweet news action. There was a lot of cool news out of PAX. None of like the really cool big news was there. There wasn't anything that was like mind blowing. But this is Pass the Controller. I am Casey Hupke, here with your two other hosts,
Darren Hupke
and Richard Chabin.
Richard Chabin, also known as the Caveman.
The Caveman.
Only known on the podcast as the Caveman.
He's known as the Caveman because when I was trying to hear his name, we were talking over each other, and I couldn't hear him say his last name. And he was like, Tim. I was like, Caveman? Caveman?
Caveman.
That was in the first recorded podcast that won't go live.
This is actually our third attempt at recording it.
And still, none of them have been live yet. This one should be live, though. This one should go out there, and people should listen to this.
This one's going to go out there. I have our RSS set up on this site called Libsyn. You basically just throw the podcast up there. They make the RSS, and it's all set up. It's like plugged in, ready to go right to iTunes. So
Sweet.
We're doing this. This is live. This is episode 1, issue 49. And we're here to talk about some sweet news. My favorite bit of news from PAX that I saw was the indie game sale on Steam. It was awesome. I literally picked up like 9 games for $40. I didn't get around to playing all of them, but I'm just want to go ahead and throw this out there that the port for the Mac of Super Meat Boy is the worst port that's ever been done.
Was that your first? I mean, you just bought that recently. I mean, you saw you.
No, I spent like however many Microsoft rupees I had to spend on it to get Super Meat Boy before, and I played it on the Xbox.
But you just recently played this Mac port of it, like the other day.
Yeah, I didn't know that it even had a Mac port.
Oh.
I just saw that there's all these games on sale on Steam, and I was like, oh, ooh, Faster Than Light. I'll buy that for $2. Oh man, what's this Kentucky Route Zero? This looks pretty sweet. Castle Crashers. I could own that on another console.
Is that like a White Lightning like app or like game? The Kentucky Route? Are you like smuggling booze and shit?
No, it's like I'm not that far into it yet. I've only played it for about 15 minutes. Just because I was kind of overwhelmed. Like, what am I going to play? What am I going to play? I defaulted to Castle Crashers. Just because.
Yeah, I love that game.
What's that?
I love that game.
I love that game.
Yeah, but it's the game already.
Happy at the deer's pooping as it's running away from the monster.
Yeah. I played that game so much.
But that's the game you've already played before. Like, you didn't let yourself experience a new game. You were like, all right, I'm going to play Castle Crashers.
Okay, so no one can see the video portion of this because all three of us look way too hot to put pictures of us out there.
I think I'm fine.
I look awesome.
Gorgeous. I don't know about you guys.
I look kind of like Rick Moranis and Egon Spangler combined into one character.
I think you should Google Matt Fraction, and that's good.
But yeah, so I have my laptop set up here, which I'm doing the podcast on, and then my work computer is to my right, and I have my Xbox controller. So I'm just like sitting here playing whatever I'm playing while I'm rendering, and I'm like, oh, Castle Crashers plays sweet, and Kentucky Route Zero is like you got to click things and interact with them, and I didn't really want to do that while I was trying to render because I wanted to be able to pause and stuff. Then I go Super Meat Boy. Super Meat Boy doesn't support any fucking controller at all for the Mac. So fucking annoying.
Zero?
It's like so bad. It doesn't support, there's a picture that says gamepad isn't required, but neither is bathing, and but you can't use a gamepad on the anyway. I sent them. I actually looked them up on Twitter, and I saw that they're working on an iOS port of Super Meat Boy and a new IP, and I was like, I would never buy the iOS port of this game if you guys can't even like release a patch for the Mac app. Consider me vegan from now on.
I wouldn't. There was a funny PETA made a Flash game that was against it and all that stuff, and you were like Super Tofu Boy, and it was actually not that bad. It was like a pretty direct like clone and only had like a few levels, but it was kind of funny. But also for Meat Boy, I wouldn't. I mean, it's a bummer it doesn't play for you on Mac because that's a super awesome game. But I wouldn't want to play an iOS version of it because like the responsive of controls, like you need to press the button and it's like immediately like you have to like be 100% on your game in that game. So like to have like I've never had luck with any game that was like a direct live action game. Like the Grand Theft Auto 3 anniversary edition on there also, I love it. I start it up every now and then just to look at it and like walk around the city a little bit, but as soon as you wouldn't even want to do anything, like driving, combat, everything is just like ridiculous. Like you're never going to play it and like enjoy it the same way.
It's not even that on an iPad.
I just picked up Metal Slug released on iOS, and I loved Metal Slug back in the day, and I was like, oh, that's something cool I can pick up and just kind of play randomly, like as I'm out or whatever when I'm bored. And I played it for like 2 minutes, and I was pissed. If I could throw the game back at them, I would, because the way they did it is you're holding your phone, and on the right, where all the enemies are running from the right towards you.
Your thumb's on it.
They put 3 giant buttons. So as you're trying to push the buttons, you're basically covering half of the screen of where the enemies are coming from. And it's impossible. I was so pissed.
That's because you have Xbox hands. if you had PS3 hands, you'd be able to see.
That's possibly the reason. I don't have nimble fingers.
Yeah, I think it's annoying. I've seen like some companies make like these like little plastic they're not like they're really like soft gel stuff, and they'll attach to your screen, and that it'll like not pull your thumb in, but you'll feel it and stuff. So when you press right there, you'll press the same spot every time, and it kind of helps for games like that. But I don't know. I don't
have a problem with it. I played the Street Fighter on the iPhone when that came out. Street Fighter 4, whatever the port to iOS. I was playing that in the bathroom. That was great.
No, see, it's like, but that's all you're going to give it though. Is you're going to give it like bursts. You're not going to ever like invest the same amount of time in that version than you would like the iOS version, or I mean the like a console version. Console version you can play ridiculously over and over again, doing like all the challenges and unlocking your titles and all that kind of stuff because you can play with precision. But on that, it's just going to be like a, hey, I've got 45 seconds to kill while I have this healthy crap. I'm gonna,
Man, that's a fast crap.
Healthy. It's healthy. Sometimes. Yeah, sometimes they're not healthy. They'll last a little longer. But if it's healthy, you can get in and out.
When I'm this is 40ing in the bathroom with my iPad. I don't know if a lot of people saw Judd Apatow's film. This is 40, but there's a scene where he's playing.
I saw it on Friday.
It was a good movie, but someone before we started was talking about the launch of XCOM for iOS on the iPhone. I'm not really looking forward to playing it, but on my iPad, I am I stopped playing it on the PS3 just because I got tired of going like when I'm in my little building, my world, like my base. I just hated dealing with the sticks and stuff. Like I wanted the keyboard or the mouse interaction just to be able to like point and click at things. So I think the game's going to do really, really fun stuff on the iPad. I think that'll be like a Vita scarer. People will be like, "Wow, this is like a full-on fucking nuts game release."
What somebody said too was in the like the little opinion on like the price, because they said it was going to be a premium price point, and
that's fine. It's a full game.
I know the game's like $40 like now after like some price drops and stuff. Most places like $40 now, but I mean it launched at $60, and I mean like a premium price point. I think they'd sell it for like $30, as I'm guessing iOS. But these people guessed like, oh, if it's anything like The Walking Dead, they'll sell it for $15 at that premium price point. If it's $15, that would be a huge steal, and I'll buy that and like enjoy the hell out of it. Like that game's worth way more than
$15, and it's nutty because there's no there's piracy protection on in the iOS marketplace if you're not like jailbroken or whatever. So I mean I buy all my apps or whatever. I don't use the
yeah.
Thanks, whatever. Legitimacy helps everyone. The where I was going with that was I totally lost my train of thought.
Legitimacy.
Piracy. Like if you share one iTunes store account, like if you and your wife and your kids all have the same iTunes account or whatever, and that's like 3 iPods or 4 iPhones or 5 iPhones that all have access to that same game. It's not like the PS3 one where you can buy it, and like I don't know what I'm trying to say here.
Neither do I. But another XCOM news, that Civilization 5, they're like in the Civilization game, there's going to be XCOM units as like late game units, so when like technologies all like reach, certain points and you're in that kind of future mode of like end game Civilization games, there's going to be like XCOM soldiers and technologies and stuff like that, like in
that's cool.
Civilization. Which I think is kind of neat because it's, same developer and stuff, which is just kind of like fusing the worlds. A little throwaway thing.
Civ 5 is great.
Yeah, all the Civilization games seem pretty fun. And then I thought they did a good job with, I think, which was like laid the groundwork for like the console release of XCOM, was that that console Civilization. Like it was like really streamlined and easy to control using a controller. And what was the subtitle to that game? Like Civilization something. Remember we were playing that a ton with like when Austin Thomas and stuff.
Yeah, I remember you got so into playing that that you bought all the other Civilization games for the PC.
Yeah,
you bought like Civ 2 and Civ 3.
Yeah, they had a really nice like collector's edition at my work, and like it was like a price drop, so it was like $30, and I got like an employee discount on top of that. And
I don't think there's a bad thing about it. I just remember like that Xbox Live version, which to the most people that had played like regular full Civ Revolution. Yeah, it's the same one. They released it for the iPad as well. I think iPhone too, but they that was fun because you could get in and you could do a classic Casey, rush to nuclear armament and make the Earth uninhabitable. That was my problem with Faster Than Light or FTL. I couldn't figure out how to save anything. Like I'd get in a fight with someone, then all of a sudden they destroy my O2 tanks, and I'd be like trying to click on one of my workers or something and have them go there to fix it. But because in the video, they're dragging and dropping stuff and moving things around and fixing their ship. The only thing I could do is come up to someone and slowly fight them until I died.
Well, yeah, I haven't played that game much, but I like the concept of the game. So
It is cool, and it's very imagination oriented. Like you're really left to tell the story of what's happening in the ship and in the battle in your own head, because all it is like a drawing of a ship that you have and a drawing of your enemy ship, and occasionally representations of missiles fly by each other.
Yeah. The other news I thought was great this week was we touched on it if people are listening to that weird rambling introduction, the DuckTales game, the remastered game.
That was when I saw you send out the tweet, like my eyes like opened up. Like I was saying earlier, like that was like a childhood favorite of mine that I spent hours and hours and hours.
I played it a lot
on Scrooge's cane.
Yeah,
freaking trying to beat that damn game. Yeah,
I thought it was good.
I got up and did the diamond golf dance, like.
Yeah, that game was really well designed. Like it was like looking back, you realize it was like a mixture of like the Super Mario and Mega Man formulas, because it was like a precision platformer at points, where like clearly it was designed it was like so like tight, like you played it and it wasn't like some like loose or unforgiving game. It was like if you were good at it, you could be really good at it in the game, and it translated really well. And then there was like some hordes of enemies, and some stuff came at you sometimes. Like it reminded me a lot of Mega Man, where it was kind of cluttered level design at points, but overall, like that game was just really tight and really awesome. Like all like the animations and stuff for it, all the sounds and stuff for it, I really dug that game a lot. So
yeah, and especially for a game coming from, I guess we could call it like a licensed IP of that time. It kind of shows that they actually did some good stuff with those licenses back in the day.
Yeah.
As opposed to now, if they were to take a cartoon, well, not all of them, but a cartoon like that, they might just make some crappy kids games. Not to say that all kids games are shitty, but they might just throw whatever and make it simple and easy and not really put any effort to it. But that was like, even though it was a kids game, it was like a real like gamers game at the same time.
Yeah.
So it was cool. And then like in the trailer I was watching, like it just looks really nice, and all the like remastered and cleaned up characters, and it just looked good. Like the mummies in particular, and one of the mummy levels, I was like, man, I'm gonna love this.
It looks cool. Like I mean, it looks like from like the little like I saw like a little live stream bit of somebody playing the game and fighting one of the bosses too. Mm-hmm. Like it looks like it's still like that same really tight precision kind of like gameplay and platforming stuff. So like I'm
like they just took it like as is and like remastered the sprites and just brought it into HD. But kept the game the same way.
Well, now it's going to have voice actors too, though. So I mean, like it's going to be like voice acting to help tell like whatever the story was. I don't remember what the story was in that game.
Oh, not at all.
Scrooge,
not at all.
Trying to hoard some more money and find some valuables and stuff like that because he didn't have enough money. Those giant, gold coin like baths he took. He didn't have enough like gold, so I guess he's just out there trying to find more jewels.
Scrooge McDuck, he's got to make his money.
Did you ever see I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker? Or I'm Gonna Get You,
Hell
Sucker?
Yeah.
No.
Well, one of the things that was plaguing black youth was gold. Like they'd wear so much gold that like it would break their necks. Like they'd be wearing all these gold chains and stuff. So like later in life, when the pop cultural relevance of I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker and DuckTales game or Scrooge McDuck came to correlation, I was like, man, Scrooge McDuck, he suffered from gold.
He suffered from gold.
Yeah.
And then, I always hated. Was it Family Guy that did that bit where would like Peter jump into like a pile of coins or something and like his face gets smashed?
Oh man, he did that?
I don't know.
I don't watch Family Guy, but I've been told like I've like come up with these random scenarios or told some wild jokes, and people are like, "Oh, you got that from Family Guy, huh?" And I was like, "I don't watch Family Guy. I mean, does that happen in Family Guy?" But I always thought about that as a kid growing up. Like realistically, those coins, he wouldn't be able to dive into that. He like is really interesting.
Yes, they are not fluid; they are gold.
Yeah, he jump off the diving board and like just face plant and break an arm, dislocate a shoulder, and then like be like stuck down there alone. Like he wouldn't be able to swim through the coins. It didn't make any sense.
But if I remember correctly, I think Scrooge was the only one that could actually swim through it. Didn't everybody else just kind of? Well, like when he was in there with his nephews, they could all do it. But if he wasn't there, it's like he had power over his money.
That's true. Yeah, he controlled
the fluidity of the money.
Yeah, no, he had some kind of mythical powers.
There's some
that was a metaphor for him being able to manipulate stock or some shit. He had fluidity in his money, but
Yeah.
He wasn't even like a captain of industry or anything. He just had all that money.
yeah, he just had a giant vault.
I wonder if got it.
But so I guess we could talk about our crappy games that we enjoyed.
Oh, our shit games. Yeah.
Our shit games.
I proposed in one of our unrecorded sessions that's never going to go live.
I'm getting an echo on you, Darren.
Yeah. Okay. I'll stop talking. Somebody else, give us a shit game.
All right, so my revised one was more of a, I guess not too recent, but a couple years ago, Dark Void that I played on the 360, which was, the whole premise of it was that they were trying to sell us vertical third-person shooters. So there was a lot of verticality to it. It was kind of like Rocketeer. He had like a jetpack. And the whole thing that at certain parts of the games, you would go up cliffs or whatever and have all these vertical fights because you were kind of held by your jetpack as you grabbed onto these ledges and whatnot. The game itself, I didn't think it was horrible, but you could tell that probably Capcom at one point kind of either stopped funding it or just rushed it to market because it was taking too long. Maybe they lost track of their ideas. I think they tried to sell it purely on the verticality of it, and then didn't put enough work into other parts of the game. But I thought it was fun, man. I totally felt like, Rocketeer is one of my, although not an awesome movie, I love that movie from when I was a kid too. And it reminded me a lot of that. Like there was big open levels in Dark Void, where you were just flying around through cliffs and through, let's say, like the Grand Canyon type scenario. And I was like, man, this is sweet. And just straight third-person shooter. But I enjoyed it. And it got horrible reviews. No one bought it. I think within like a month, you could buy it for like $10 or $20 or something. Yeah. But I loved it. I bought it first day and I enjoyed it.
If I recall, that game had a lot of hype around it. I remember that was like a big E3 flex piece off for the 360.
I don't know.
They were. I just remember them showing like when he hits the jetpack and like, all right, now see what happens here. Then he'd like go, and they'd be over this big it just looked very, very vast and epic. And you'd be like climbing up things and shooting things. And I remember I never even got interested in buying it. Like I think I missed the release.
I don't think it was ever billed like AAA, but it definitely was like they showed it off, and then there was a lot of like advertisement and stuff for it.
Yeah.
I think they tried to push it. I think it was like 07, I want to say, maybe 08, but when a lot of companies were trying to reemerge with that new IP piece, and like the Dead Space was coming out for the first time, and a couple other like new IPs were coming out, so everyone was kind of just trying to push new ideas. And that was like and that was Capcom's push out, and I don't know, I enjoyed it. It didn't do well. It's not like an amazing game, and it does have its problems, but I thought it was awesome, and it's really short too. And I'm the type of person that I don't really care how long it is because it takes me a month to play a game anyways. But it was probably like 6 hours long, which at this point is unforgivable for a $60 game.
Yeah, I don't care how long the game is as long as I leave it feeling like I was engaged and had a good time.
Yeah, you enjoyed it, exactly. But for like a $60 retail game, I expect maybe like 10 hours or something. Something that at least lasted me a little while. If I can play it in 2 sittings, that's a little too short for $60.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely any game, even if it's a shitty game like we're talking right now. Yeah. If I left and I was like, oh man, that was cool. That was whimsical.
Yeah, that's why. Let me set it up though. He just he's explained it already. But the shit games are games that received poor, mediocre to poor reviews, critically and in the market and everything. But that you can look past the rough spot and found some redeeming quality that just interests you.
Yeah, I remembered one that I didn't even bring up on the Fawcast on our last Fawcast.
Fawcast.
It was this game that my wife and I used to play. It was like it's like the only video game I've ever been able to get her to play, except for like Little Big Planet when I was like forcing her to play, which became like me dragging her through levels and being like, jump and grab that. Jump and grab that. Jump and grab that. God, just stay there. I'm just going to carry you over there.
Oh,
but
man.
it was Kirby's Dream Ride.
Yes.
It was this like weird like open world exploration Kirby game, and you got to ride all these. Like you started out as like Kirby on a star, and like you rode around the city, and like you got like little items and stuff and little weapons, and there weren't ever really like enemies per se. All of a sudden, enemies would come out of nowhere, and like there was never really like a point. Like Rachel and I never like looked up online to see what the point of the game was or see how we're supposed to play it. We just knew like, oh, cool, we got this ride now. We can air ride on this thing. We have a rocket now. We have this UFO thing now. And sometimes like a UFO would come and like blow up a whole area, or like a bomb would go off in part of the city. It was so shitty. But like we had fun playing it, and I don't ever remember even hearing it like announced or anything. It was like a Nintendo 64 game that we found at.
It was a GameCube. It was a GameCube.
Oh, it was a GameCube game. Yeah, that's right.
It was Kirby Air Ride. Yeah, it was supposed to be a game that was like playable by anyone. Actually, I think it had like some online components too. I think it like was one of the first games to use like their like network adapter for the GameCube. But it even had a mode.
Had a network adapter.
The GameCube never had a.
Just kidding. Just kidding. I'm being facetious.
It didn't need it. But the Kirby Air Ride had like a one button mode where you literally only needed to use A and the control stick, and that was it. You can play the game entirely with just that.
Even when at the one button mode, you didn't really need to do a whole lot. All you had to do was like explore.
But it was like a racing game, and then
there was no track. There was no track to race.
No, I never played much, but I think there was like. That was the whole thing. Maybe there was like a single player mode, but I only played like multiplayer, like wins, here and there. But it was like a racing game, at points. I'm pretty sure it was a racing game. I don't know if
it wasn't a kart racing game. That's for sure, because there was no like directions you had to go. You were just like in a city, and like you could blow up some of the buildings, and like you could get on top of buildings. You could find like secret passages. Certain events and stuff would happen in the game, and then you could shoot things. Yeah, and at random points, like your game would just be over. Or it'd be like, bonus incoming! And you're like, we got a bonus somehow. I don't know how we got this bonus, but...
Wonder what we got.
Yeah, but there was a racing component to it, and that was, I think, a larger chunk of the game. I think maybe that city thing was, its own thing. But yeah, that game kind of came and went, and I think Kirby's usually developed by, like the HAL Laboratories side of Nintendo, so they normally... we're doing Smash Brothers, and that's all they've been doing. So it's weird that they got out of the box or out of their, lockdown from Smash Brothers, because technically they would have done. I think they came out before the GameCube Smash Brothers game, so they got to make Smash Brothers on the 64. People fell in love with it, and then sweet Nintendo idea was, let's not have you guys immediately do another one. Let's let you guys do this Kirby game for the GameCube.
Kirby Air Ride, and there was a racing mode. Now that I remember it. Because Rachel and I, we would always play that game after we, to quote one of my favorite television shows, ate a sandwich. and so we'd have eaten like a really big sandwich. And
this explains his hazy memory of what the game really was.
Obviously, I haven't gotten to my anecdote of me and my wife playing games yet, so we'll get to that in a second.
We played so much. And this is where a phrase that exists in our family, between Rachel and I, that we say all the time. And I was just sitting there one time, and she got ice blocked. Some enemies ice block you, and I was like, "Out of the way, ice block!" And for some reason, that made us laugh so hard. Oh man! And I started bringing back like the the things that you, Thomas, and Austin and I used to do, like Tomahawk, yeah. Because when you're racing, there was this power up that Kirby could get where it was a headdress. It's like a Native American headdress, and he could start flying super fast. And whenever I do get that, I'd be like Tomahawk Joe.
That's awesome.
What's your anecdote here before we go into
my? No, me and I call my wife. Her name is Larissa, but I'll always refer to her as Larry. But it was not a man.
Which is also funny because my wife's name is Nicole, and I always call her Nick. So when I tell people that, like, oh, me and my friend Rich, we went out with our wives, like a Larry and Nick, it's like, are you guys is there a civil union? What's going on? Like, no, they're women. They're women. Just
they're women. They just go by different names. But back in the day when we first started dating, and I was living with my buddy Andy, we would have, I guess I'll refer to it as footlong sandwiches. And
we're talking about weed, guys.
we would play Super Bomberman 5 gold cartridge.
That's good.
And my wife does not play games like hardly at all. Same experience with Little Big Planet that I had, I had with her. And she not only was ruthless at that game, at the multiplayer, but Darren's met her, and she's, average size like girl and pretty, sweet and soft spoken. She would get straight ghetto playing that game and just cuss you out and like, I'm gonna kill you, motherfucker, and like just come at you in the multiplayer. So those were good times playing some Bomberman with my wife.
God, you know what Bomberman game I loved was Bomberman 64.
Awesome game.
We put so much time in that game. That game was that was one of those games that like we obsessed over like doing like all the nooks and crannies and finding all because it had that multiplayer mode where you could unlock like customizable parts for your own bomber character. So like we were constantly trying to that game was good.
Oh, we were pure multiplayer, no adventure mode.
Just I mean like in 64 they had like a cheesy like single player thing, but like we only played that mainly to get the I don't know, the visual skins or whatever, the extra parts for your custom guy in multiplayer. And multiplayer is what we go crazy on.
That was a game. I remember you, Austin Thomas, and I having moments of like, that was one of those games where we'd be like, standing up and then going, and like collapsing in rage.
Yeah. But it's weird though, you guys talk about your wives and their like lack of video game competency, I guess. Because like when I first met my wife, she played Nintendo and Super Nintendo games probably like off and on as a child, but I got her into Harvest Moon, the Game Boy Advance one, Friends of Mineral Town. Oops, was that what it was called? Yeah, and she got like hooked on that game, and like she like started obsessively playing that. And so like you could only have 2 save files, one was mine, one was hers, but like she like took over that game and played it like nonstop like crazy. And then a little while later, we moved out to Arizona, and she immediately upgraded and went even like crazier. Like I had Final Fantasy 11 on the PS2, and she dove into this MMO world and went nuts. Like to this day, like her character was higher level than mine was. Like she went on like these crazier quests and fought bosses that I'd never even seen in the game. Like she had like epic gear and race specific stuff, and like she went like nuts on that game, which is totally weird because she doesn't play any other games really much at all. I mean, she'll occasionally play something here and there. But like Final Fantasy 11 is what she obsessed and like mastered over. I thought it was like totally bizarre.
Yeah, Rachel loves any Bejeweled style of game, any puzzle game, and like Lumines. She played Lumines.
Yeah.
She would play the fuck out of those games on like the hardest difficulty and stuff, and she like really interact like explosive puzzle games type things, and Mario Kart. She'll play Mario Kart any day of the week.
And Nicole also loved Seaman on the Dreamcast obsessively. But
who didn't love Seaman?
That game was good.
Oh, man, I remember our
but that
mom
was
getting
my
so tripped out because of Seaman. Like, Seaman, why don't you die? And he'd be like respond to Darren, and my mom would just be like, Darren, no, I don't like this. I don't like this.
That goes to my shit game though, which is Blue Stinger was a Dreamcast title, which I love to death. It was billed, as like a big survival horror game to launch the Dreamcast with, and actually didn't even come out at launch. It was like 2 months or 3 months after.
Launch like window.
Yeah, what it wasn't a launch. And but it was like a fully like 3D environment, all stuff. Supposed to be survival horror, supposed to be like their next level like Resident Evil experience, which is weird because then they got Code Veronica, which was the superior and best Resident Evil experience at that point, So why were they trying to whatever? But yeah, it had terrible like clunky like animation, like poor voice acting. Like the combat controls were awful, but like it wasn't like your typical Resident Evil shooter like system where it was like limited ammo and stuff. You kept finding money on like any bad guys you beat, and you could use that money at vending machines that were littered everywhere to get health and ammo and all this stuff. So you never had that same kind of like scarce rationing. And then it had like this melee combat stuff thrown into it too. But like it was just, it didn't work, and none of the pieces fit right, and it wasn't reviewed well at all. But like something about like the story and the environments, like I was like hooked to, and like at the time, like having games that were like more involved like that. I mean, because coming from like a PlayStation, to upgrade into a Dreamcast, it was like, like you just felt like it was like, oh, these games are like, next generation. Like this is like a good advanced experience on, like everything else. So I played through it, even though it was terrible, and I love that game. I've considered getting a Dreamcast again to like kind of like play through it and see what it's like.
I loved it. I told you that was like I bought the Dreamcast not right at launch, but like in the window, I guess, and that was my first game, and I loved it.
Yeah,
I loved it just as much as you did, probably.
Yeah, but it got
a Saturn. I want to get a Saturn and play Knights.
Yeah, well, the Saturn was whatever. I remember I got my first Dreamcast by trading a PlayStation to this dumb kid we lived near, and like I gave him my PlayStation and all my library of games, which was like 5 games at the time, and he traded me his Dreamcast and like his library of games, which was like what did he have? He had like Resident Evil Code Veronica and like 2 other games I did not care about, but because the Dreamcast was like only 3-4 months old at the time, remember it came out in 9/99. This was a few months after that. I took like some of those games to a swap meet and traded them in. I was able to get Blue Stinger, Power Stone, and God, what was the other game I got?
Power Stone was a great fighting game.
Yeah, I got something else, and then like not that long after that, I got the Capcom vs SNK one and Jet Grind Radio, and then we ended up picking up like I don't know, but the Dreamcast was really good. Like now it's like falling off from the Dreamcast. That was a really great system.
That swap meet was so shady because that video game retailer guy. He would sell you games and buy your games, but he would also encourage you just to buy his pirated copies of games. Like, hey, why don't you just get this Action Replay thing?
Yeah, he's the guy who turned me on to Action Replays. Like, one time, again, when I was even younger, I took I don't remember what it was, a bunch of games and stuff like that. I sold to him. He was like, oh, you'll get, $60 for this stuff. And I was like, oh man, I thought this was worth way more, but $60, I can barely get like one new game and maybe a used one. And then like I was looking around, I was at the swap meet for maybe an hour and a half, and I was standing in his tiny little 1 parking spot length booth, like why was I there that long? I don't know. The guy finally goes, hey, have you ever heard of the Action Replay? And I was like, no, what's that? And he's like, it's kind of like a Game Shark, lets you put codes in, but lets you play backup games. Do you know what backup games are? Oh, I have no idea. And he's like, here's a list. All these games are $5 each. And then I was like, what the hell? And it was like a list of like nearly every PlayStation game.
Thrill Kill was on there.
Yeah, Thrill Kill.
This game never even this was never even released. Why do you have this?
I was obsessed with Thrill Kill though too, because I was looking forward to that game. So I saw that on the list. And I was like, oh my god, this is ridiculous. What the hell? And he told me it was like, $5 for each game. So suddenly I got this $25 Action Replay, and I was able to pull in, like I got like 8 or 9 burn games, and I got like Mega Man 8 and Thrill Kill and Dragon Ball Z Ultimate Battle 22.
Mega Man Legend too, the 3D one.
Oh yeah, Mega Man Legends.
The horrible Driver, yeah. Oh man, Driver. I remember playing that game and just being like, I wish I could get out of this car.
I didn't care. I didn't care about that. I was because when I was really young, I really wanted to be a director and like direct my own movies and stuff. And like you could like change the camera angle, and like you could have it be set to be like those weird like director style like those set camera points. And when you drove by it or zoomed by it real quick, it would jump ahead and change to something else. You couldn't actually play the game like that, but occasionally just doing that for a fun joyride was cool. I remember I was only like 10 or 11 when I first heard about that game. No, I was probably a little bit older, but I remember going to like videogames.com, which later became GameSpot, which that's still around, isn't it? Yeah. Nobody has to go there.
What a wild journey we've been on.
Videogames.com to GameSpot. But I remember like 56K modem, like waiting like 4.5 hours to download a 37-second like teaser trailer for Driver.
Yeah.
And it was insane. I was really looking forward to that game too.
I remember when we had all those games, going to the library to go on GameFAQs.com just to get, like print out walkthroughs and stuff because
game FAQs.
That's what I said.
GameFAQs. Okay, yeah. Well, I mean, I tried to print out a strategy guide from them or a walkthrough from there one time at the library, and the library attendant entered in game. She read my Q as a G. GameFAQs.com and forwarder automatically to some like creepy porn site, and she was super upset with me, and she thought that I was like pulling a prank and all that stuff, and I was like, whoa, no.
Well, I remember we had
that letter is a Q, not a G. Suddenly something totally different.
We bought some nutty games from him too, like Japanese region locked, not Japanese localized fighters that had little to no explanation of how the combat systems
No,
work.
that was an American release, Evil Zone, Evil Zone. That wasn't a Japanese game. It just had no like delivery or no
English.
Yeah, it was just like
Yeah.
here's a fighting game. Everybody has a completely different control scheme for one another.
Every once in a while, you do an amazing finishing move.
Yeah, those are
like, oh, how did I do that? How did I do that? And I remember I got some 3D Dragon Ball Z fighter game that was in Japanese.
That one was a Japanese. That was an import game that never came. Oh, I think it eventually came out in America, but yeah, that game sucked. Sucked bad.
But they were $5. We were picking up games for $5. We didn't really care.
Yeah, you'll take what you can get.
That was one of our.
And I did. I took many things I can get.
One of my favorite games from that era was Bushido Blade.
Oh yeah, I like Bushido Blade because it had one hit kill
for hours.
You can one hit kill people in a game.
Yeah.
Yep.
I could never do it, but I thought it was just neat. It was like I was like in my brain, I thought it was like realistic. I was like, oh, it's a fighting game. Finally, that's like realistic. Like because you're fighting with swords or weapons. You if you messed up, you could get killed quick. And that's Bushido Blade.
A quick little slash to the the Bushido Blade is one of those Neo Geo arcade games. If you guys aren't familiar with it, it would be like that game, Metal Slug, Time Killers, Okay, Time Killers wasn't in there, but I just remember Time Killers because I remembered you could chainsaw off people's arms.
There was usually a Raiden of some sort.
Yeah.
All your base belonged to
some sort of like 1941 as well.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Oh, that's a Capcom.
Yeah. I went back to play Bushido Blade like, I don't know, maybe like 5 years ago just to like check it out. And like half of the time, the level's not even in front of you. Like you're running around fighting. You know how like the level was 3D or whatever, and you could kind of run through like a bamboo forest as you were kind of fighting each other. It had the worst pop-in I've ever seen like in a game. Like you'd see 2 bamboo trees in front of you and blackness behind it. And then as you kept on moving, like 1 or 2 trees would pop up kind of as you were going.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I remember this game being amazing. And like I thought the whole forest was like right here.
Pop-in, that's like a crazy thing that like was I mean, it doesn't happen anymore, because games now can like stream better and like, they can hide it, with like clever design.
Yep.
My baby's crying now. But Superman 64 was a terrible one that had awful pop-in.
Oh, that game was so bad. That game was so bad.
I think most Superman games have been horrible.
Well, that game you broke
Superman of this generation was horrible as well.
It broke up the stupid like action with by flying through rings through the city.
Hey, it worked for Star Fox.
Superman does.
It worked for Star Fox.
It worked for Star Fox. If it's good enough for Star Fox, it's good enough for Superman.
Yeah. Well, I think that's our shit games though. So
cool.
We're good on the shit game list.
What is there any like one game specifically you guys are playing this week or something new you started?
Ease. Or
Ease. Oh yeah. The RPG you were playing.
Yeah, super fun, super fun. I got it on the Vita. I can't put it down. It's just a fun game. Like the combat system is cool. The combos are super fun. The story's horrible, but god awful story. But I don't care because I'm like playing like a Legend of Zelda game, but with combos and fun fighting. And there was something else that I was playing.
I've never played those. I've always seen them, but it's basically a rough Legend of Zelda. They're trying to be Zelda with like a better fighting system, basically.
Kind of like something like that.
Yeah, they've been around for a long time. Like I remember we played in an old one that was like an MS DOS game, and like it was like a top-down game. And the combat in that though was like, in like Legend of Zelda, you'd like Link to the Past or the original NES one, you'd press a button to swing your sword. And this one, you didn't actually press any button to swing your sword. It was just like you saw whatever sword was equipped was like just kind of sticking out in front of you. So you had to like ram into enemies at the right angle to do that. And they had a shield, same thing in front of you, that, if you were hit anywhere else, you take damage. But if you kind of like bumped into enemies against their weapon with your shield, you would be able to like deflect it. And it was really wonky and like super low key. But on the very bottom, it had like an experience bar and your health. Whenever you killed enemies, like a chunk would go into the experience bar, and you keep walking around the overworld and like Legend of Zelda style. But the combat was all real time, or I guess Zelda is too. But yeah. I mean, this was just like ramming yourself into somebody. It's kind of
sweet.
I've been playing Dead Space still. I finally got to start it up again, and I got to chapter 10, and I wanted to keep on trucking, but like I'm still holding out in hopes that like
still no co-op partner.
Yeah, I'm still holding up in hopes that somebody I know will buy it and I'll be able to like play through it. Because I mean, I have no problem beating it by myself, but like I'm not going to want to play it twice through or anything, Yeah. So I'd like to at least experience the game with somebody else because I like co-op games.
Yeah, that's kind of how it was for me too. I got right to the planet, which is like chapter 9 or 10. Yeah. And then Andy had gotten it, and then we started playing co-op, and then that was cool because it was a nice way to like finish the second half of the game, and then you can kind of just 2 of the co-op missions are in that second half, and then the other one you can kind of just jump back to. So it's worth it. What?
Did you finish Dead Space 3?
Yeah, I finished it.
Man,
yeah, I got it for the free
PC?
game, the free game for the PC for buying SimCity in its current beta state.
I've actually was like super jazzed at SimCity, and like I didn't buy it still, and like I was still tempted to buy it even during this whole fiasco just to play a little bit. But then once I actually started seeing the reviews come out for it, how like the size of the area, like the
so small.
It's actually kind of small is what I've heard, which I think's kind of weird, and like you can't necessarily make an all-encompassing metropolis. Like you kind of got to focus on your little region and stuff like that. And like a lot of people were describing it as like it's a great multiplayer component to like a single-player SimCity.
Yeah.
Like it was a secondary mode, but for it to be like the main experience, it's just not really worth it, especially for SimCity fans who just want that kind of all-encompassing control over the game.
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
It's closer to like buying Civ Revolution and expecting a full-blown Civilization campaign. It's granted, the game is very well thought out and it's beautiful. It's fun to play when you can play it, but you can't like build one just like bad metropolis city. Like you will literally like all of a sudden have no way at all to manage your city, and it'll just go away. You have to build like a whole bunch of cities inside the little map zone that you have, and like you have to be like, okay, this city, it's gonna suck for you. You're basically gonna be the dump town, and you're gonna be where all the dump trucks come from to clean up the rest of these cities that are connected to you. This is gonna be a tourism-based city, and this is gonna be a polluted-ass city with a bunch of coal farming.
Yeah, which I'm bummed by. Like, I really wish that they would have done, like, because even in the original, like, in SimCity 2000 or even the original SimCity, like, you got to create your landscape area. Like, you could make, like, a lot of trees and a lot of, like, high elevation changes and a lot of, like, rivers. Or you can make, like, really light on all that stuff or, like, just, like, kind of like a flat valley. In this, there's no, like, terrain editor. You don't get to actually choose your starting point.
That bummed me out.
Which it seems weird. It seems like all these are like huge step backs, on like something they've been building for decades. It doesn't make any sense to me. So after I found all that out, like I have no interest in buying it, and especially with the fact that people were still having problems, like I don't want anything to do with it.
Yeah, when I first started, I was like, I looked at the layout of the little zone or whatever that I was becoming the mayor of. I was like, all right, well, how do I make a lake right here? I can't make a lake. Okay, how do I dig down into here? I can't do that. Okay.
Are there any games coming up you guys looking forward to?
I was just gonna say real quick that I actually started playing Luigi's Mansion on the 3DS today, and it's awesome. What does that mean?
That game looks like it could be fun. Like I've got.
It's awesome. I love.
Hey, GameCube, we're gonna need a Mario title for this GameCube launch. What do you got? We got this sweet ass game about focusing primarily on Luigi.
You ever played it?
I fucking played it. It was horrible.
No, he didn't.
Awesome.
He only played it for like 20 minminutes, maybe. The same thing with me. I didn't play that much, but not because I didn't like it or anything at all. It's just like we were. I don't think we had a GameCube at the time. We got a GameCube a little later.
We had a GameCube. It was that summer that Austin and Thomas lived with us in California.
I know, but that was years later. Like you got one. Like it was bundled with Metroid Prime, and like we had it like later in its life and all that stuff. So we never went back and played Luigi's Mansion.
That game was awesome, man. Like it was very kind of slow in the beginning, and then just ramped up. And I thought it was really good. It was a good kind of. It's basically in its essence like a puzzle game because you had to figure out how not only to find the ghosts in the rooms, but kind of in what way to take them down to where Luigi could actually like suck them up.
Yeah, using the environment as well and stuff like that, and figuring out the right. Like I thought it was clever.
I thought it was. I thought it was a really enjoyable game, and like I was really excited to play it on the DS, and it looks awesome. And so far in the hour or two I played it, it kind of holds up to that. It's a good nostalgia for me from my GameCube days.
I think a lot of people
my GameCube.
A lot of people were burned out on, or not burned out, but a lot of people, received Luigi's Mansion like worse than they should have initially. Was because it was a system launch and they wanted a traditional Mario game out of the gates, and what they got was that, which is not what they were expecting. But it didn't reflect the quality of the game necessarily. It just wasn't the experience people were kind of expecting to or hoping to get from Nintendo.
Even today, most people I talk to, when they come up and they're like, "Oh, I want a Mario game and I want this," and then they're like, most people that only shop by prices rather than by knowing what the fuck they're buying.
Yeah.
Hey, can I get this game for my 4-year-old? This Mario and Luigi's Bowser Inside Story. I was like, your 4-year-old's not gonna be able to play that.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, no, he wants a Mario game. Okay, fine. And the next day they're like, there's so much reading and stuff in this, and I'm like, yeah, I told you. Like, fuck.
Yeah.
And that's kind of probably what happened with Luigi's Mansion on GameCube, where they wanted a Mario game, or even if it was a Luigi game that was like a Mario game, and it ended up being something different. So
I think
no one wanted it.
I think during the whole process and development of the GameCube, Miyamoto was just really fucking high. He was just like, all right, check it out.
Pikmin.
Yeah, I know, Pikmin. All right, so
Pikmin
so I was just doing some acid out in the garden, and oh man, there's all these cool little things that are like working together, and then like there's like this potato man that landed in the garden.
He was a human.
He wasn't a human.
Yes, he was. Captain Olimar. He was a human.
Olimar wasn't a human.
He just had a potato nose.
He just had a funny looking shape to him.
He wasn't human.
Yes, he was.
He was in Miyamoto's garden. He was on Earth. He landed on Earth.
Well, there were large Earth objects around, like garbage in a garden area. That's true, but it wasn't on Earth.
No, he landed on Earth.
All right. Well, maybe he did.
Fact.
Well, he's holding something to the screen.
He's holding a picture of Olimar. He's not a human. He's clearly elven-like.
He's got some pointy ears, actually. There.
He only has 4 fingers on each hand.
Yeah, but so does lots of cartoon characters
that aren't human. Yeah, I know. I agree.
But yeah, some other stuff I'm looking forward to this year. I know that initially when we talked about this on one of the throwaway casts, I was like kind of like struggling to think. It was like The Last of Us. I really want to play clearly. But what I'm really looking forward to now is that DuckTales game this summer. But the Final Fantasy X like HD upgrade, like I really want to play through that game again. I don't realize I played 10 initially, we beat it, we finished it. I enjoyed it, and it was but it wasn't like a super memorable, like instantly one of my favorite Final Fantasy games. It was just kind of like I wish there was more of an open world, and I wish there was more to do here, and I wish there was like a little bit more of this, and it just never really delivered. But since then, like the Final Fantasy they released have like dropped in quality and dropped in my expectations even more. So going back to 10 is like, it's like an upgrade compared to what they've done with like 13 and 12 and stuff like that. So I'm kind of excited for it.
The best thing, a lot of these,
a bunch of Blitzball.
Blitzball is a fun minigame.
The best thing that Square Enix could possibly do is just keep revisiting their old titles and making them slightly better. Because every time they make a new game, it's terrible.
Well, they what they're doing now is good for them. They bought Eidos and like the big European companies there to publish like decent games that were gonna like maybe these European companies need a little more funding. Now they can get like the extra funding, extra time they need to put out more polished games that they were already going to develop. So
yeah,
I think it works for them, like with Tomb Raider and stuff like that.
I am on the edge of my seat waiting for Soul Sacrifice on April 30th.
Oh yeah, that looks fun too. I'll get that. That's a good multiplayer Monster Hunter clone. That will be fun to play.
I wouldn't just say it's a Monster Hunter clone.
Dude, okay. It is. They were like, Monster Hunter, what is that? Oh, these repeatable quests. You're going to play in like these 4-player settings, and you're going to kind of constantly like farm and upgrade your individual avatar. But they threw in this gimmick of when your co-op friend dies, if you let him die and sacrifice him, it'll kind of enhance your other players' characters' powers. Or, you can choose to not let that boss die and sacrifice them. And, they're just adding a little twist, gameplay twist, into the core mechanics of an essential Phantasy Star, Monster Hunter, Metal Gear Peace Walker formula.
And I think Guacamelee is coming out soon, right?
Yeah, I want to play that too. That game was cool.
The games that I'm primarily looking forward to are Vita titles because I hope that something comes out for the Vita before the PlayStation 4 that's just like a super awesome, like, this is why you buy this console.
Yeah.
Granted, I think there probably already is. There already are enough games on the platform that if you
I wouldn't say there's enough. I think there's some good ones, but there's not enough, I don't think.
If you buy a Vita now, like, the games that you have to play to catch up on, like Gravity's Rush and Uncharted Golden Abyss. And
Uncharted sucked.
It wasn't good.
Vita Uncharted, terrible. That Vita Assassin's Creed you also love, right?
No,
you don't. You hated it.
I didn't think the Uncharted on Vita was terrible.
I just thought that it was like one of those, like, okay, this developer, we're encouraging you to use all the Vita's features, you know.
Yeah, I do think they forced features into it and like using everything, but I didn't think it was terrible.
Okay, I'm bashing them, and I'm a big Sony fanboy, but I wanted more of it, you know, from it, you know, because if you release Uncharted 1, 2, and 3, and they're that great of games, you don't release that game on the Vita as like your showcase Uncharted game for the Vita and have it just be a mediocre romp through like a slightly altered Uncharted 1. It never had like that epic scope or like a large, you know, memorable piece or section of the game like Uncharted 2 and 3 had, and like the story just was completely auxiliary too. It just felt like it was just this complete side story, like branched. Mess. And there were some points where you were like doing these like runaway missions. Like you couldn't combat the enemies. You just had to run quickly and flee. And like they were like kind of designed wonky, and like they didn't actually guide you through the right way like naturally. So like I would repeatedly die in these like these dumb points, and I didn't even finish it.
BioShock Infinite comes out on Tuesday. I'm looking. I have it reserved. I don't know how much I've paid off on it already. I probably already have it already paid off. But I don't know if I want to pick it up. I don't know if I want to have another AAA title that I load up, install, download updates, get the game going, start playing, invest 30 to 45 minutes in it, and then never go back and play.
Yeah, but that's not a knock on the game. It's just a knock on.
It's just my play style. Like I right now, I'm really enjoying PC gaming, which is something that I've always scoffed at because it was I was just like, a PC game. I'm not going to fucking PC game. This is stupid. But on my MacBook Pro, on Windows and on Mac, like I'm using a 360 controller, and I just fucking pick this thing up and set it down on the couch, and I'm using my 360 controller with my screen. Like I don't want to. I want.
So why can't you do that with BioShock?
You can play, yeah. It's on PC. It's on PC.
It is.
Yeah.
Casey's mind's blown. I didn't realize that. But I was talking to somebody about that the other day when we were talking about the PS4 and everything. And like, I mean, it's not like I'm a huge. I mean, I love the Vita and all that stuff, but I know it's hasn't done as well as it needs to have done for Sony to really call it like a success or anything like that. And I know some people might be thinking it's dead type of thing, because there's not a regular release schedule for it or anything. But I can't wait for it to get to the PS4 point when the games are going to be able to be like streamed and played on my Vita. So because I'm in this kind of a similar situation with Casey, it's like, I can like hog the TV in the living room where the rest, like the wife and the family, want to be doing their thing and stuff like that, or like try and play somewhere else where I'm isolated or something. But if it's in like a handheld, I can still kind of like let her do like watch her own thing, or still sit there and like have the handheld thing right in front of me, or take it away or take it around with me and stuff, and not have to worry about being tied down and anchored to the one spot and then put everybody else out. So like I'm really looking forward to the PS4 stuff for Vita functionality.
Yeah, the biggest selling point for the PS4 for me is not having to turn a television on to play my PS4 games.
Yeah, that's gonna be cool.
I wish they would make one of those goddamn screen clip-ons like they had for the PlayStation. Do you remember that thing with the little tent? You had one, didn't you?
I have two of them. I have one, and it's still sealed in a box in case something happens to my other one. I can quickly fill it. I got it for like $3 somewhere, and so I was like, why not?
I would buy that in a second if they had like a little 1280 720 screen that could like pop on. Hey, throw in like a battery too. Just like clip a battery on the back.
Portable PS4.
Portable PS4.
Yeah, the another game too that actually I need to bring this up though, just because I have to. On PS2, Jak and Daxter, the first one, I love the hell out of that game. I actually 100% of that game on PS2. why would I do that? I don't know. I did though. I got all the precursor orbs and like the save file showed like 100%. They released like that HD collection for that on PS3, and I was like, sweet. I did this before in my life. I will actually do it again, get all the precursor orbs, and finish this game fully, and get a platinum trophy for it. And I did. And it's now going to be released on the Vita. And if it's like some of the other cross, Vita PS3 games, it's going to have its own separate trophy list, so I can essentially replay the game again on the Vita, get another platinum, and play that game. That game is solidly awesome. Love Jak and Daxter.
I never got in. I missed those games. I never
played
that.
I've never played Jak and Daxter 2 or Jak 3. I was in a beta for Jak X Combat Racing on the PS2 back when I was like on this game advisory panel for PlayStation Underground. All those things are all gone at this point. But I played that for just a brief moment, and it was it was meh. It was just kind of dumb. But the Jak and Daxter, the first game, I loved to death. That was super good, super polished, like platforming game, and it wasn't like one of those loose 3D kind of platformers, where it had like structure and precision and and its platforming elements. So it didn't like just play like you were just like a kid collecting like stupid
crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they were solid games. I like the Ratchet and Clank games too.
Yeah, those I've played every single Ratchet and Clank. That's why I kind of feel bad I never like played a Jak, because everyone says they're good, but I never got into it.
Jak 1,
I think Clank is the superior sidekick.
Dude, you don't know Daxter's story, dude. You don't know Daxter's nightmare, okay? He was Jak's best friend, and he accidentally fell into the dark eco. So
I know. I feel like becoming a talking ferret or whatever is kind of like an upgrade, though, because, well, I mean, I imagine at first, like, the sexuality behind it would be kind of awkward, because, would you be attracted to women still? Would you have, like, some kind of Brian the dog from Family Guy thing going on, where you date women and they would be okay with it because you used to be a human? I just don't know. That's why I can't get behind that game.
That's the only reason why.
The sexual implications of bestiality just take me right out of the story.
He's against it.
Cool.
Sweet, guys.
I don't know what we have on tap for next week. I know the shit games is what we wanted to hit here, but we'll do something funny and fun and special for next week's cast.
I'm going to be trying to put together a list of games that I've played that I need to that I still own and try to get a platinum. I don't have any platinum trophies.
Platinums, dude. I never thought I would get. I mean, I'm an ADD gamer. Like when the next new thing came out, I'd want to like start playing that. So I could be playing with the new crowd on that. And so I would hardly ever go back to games. So I initially never thought I would get a platinum trophy, but I think I now have 3. I think I've got like Jak and Daxter, Infamous 2. I'm forgetting them. I'll remember them. But yeah, let's do a completionist story. What games we've completed, loved, and fully devoured, and games that we would like to do so will fall on.
Oh man, I want a trophy laden in Final Fantasy VII.
Oh, Snake Eater HD collection trophy, platinum that.
Well, I'm surprised you don't have platinums in all the Metal Gear games.
Some of them are kind of a little rough.
Kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, and the Metal Gear Solid 4, I was actually going through. It requires like 9 playthroughs if you do it flawless, like what you need to do on that run, and it's rough. And those 9 playthroughs, 2 of those playthroughs, one of them requires you to watch like all the cutscenes and do like little interactive, because there's an occasional interactive button press thing you can do on them. You need to see all of those and watch all the cutscenes. And another one is you need to get like the chicken emblem, which is to like die like over 200 times and have a play time of like plus like 20 hours and like all this stuff. So to get that, you actually either have to leave the game idle and on and like not be able to do anything, and then repeatedly get yourself killed hundreds of times, and like you'd have to sink like 99 hours into it to get that platinum.
Oh man!
Which, yeah.
On the topic of leaving games on to achieve greatness in video games, my brother-in-law Jason. I was walking by his office one day, and I heard something, and I was like, "Jason, are you home?" And he wasn't there, so I walk in, and he's got Skyrim loaded up, and he's got his dude like crouched in the stealth position, just like stealthing against a wall with an NPC off to the side. So he had just left his game running with a book on his mouse, so he was maxing out his stealth while he was at work.
Wow.
I was like, dude, why'd you leave your computer on all day? He was like, oh, dude, he's been leveling up in stealth. I have like full infinite stealth now.
It's crazy. I did that one time for a Gran Turismo game. There was one of the endurance races, and if you set the there was like the super speed ring, or it was one of those like small circular courses, and if you had that Escudo Pikes Peak edition car that had like a ridiculous number of horsepower, you can set the transmission up in a certain way that if you that like it would like you'd hold the analog sticks so that it would like turn to the right into the wall. Even though it was like scraping against the wall, it had such good horsepower that it would maintain enough of a top speed to get past all the other AI racers. And so it was an endurance race that, was 2 hours long or longer even. I do hundreds of laps or whatever. And so you could just leave that on and keep getting the gold from that. And I managed to do that like, 2 or 3 different times just to get a chunk of change every now and then. I think it was in Gran Turismo 3 when you that one.
That was a great game.
Yeah. Well, cool. So, all right, so next week's games we've devoured fully and experienced all that you can, and games that we would like to.
I mean, I know already next week I'm talking about Final Fantasy VII.
All right.
Fuck.
All right.
So thanks, guys. Thanks for listening. You can follow us on Twitter. We'll have the Twitter info attached to the file, right, Casey?
Yeah, we'll put. This is going to be posted at thegamingaddiction.com. It'll also be available on iTunes. On the gamingaddiction.com's blog post for this, we'll have the editor add in our Twitter handles. And we should probably make one for the show. I bet Pass the Controller is already taken on Twitter.
We'll add some sort of bleep loops to it.
Yeah, we'll be Pass the Controller 69.
69, I was going to say. Probably not taken.
All right.
Thanks for listening, guys. Have a good one.
This is Kate. Oh, man. You guys remember this? You guys remember the DuckTales movie?
Yeah.
When our mom took us to go see that movie,